Hi, so I haven't done a video for quite a long time, and I'm sorry about that. Just life and lots of things happened. But there's been a little bit of controversy in the carnivore community over the past couple weeks, just about whether people should only be focusing on the positive or focusing on the struggles. And no, I'm not jumping into that. But in that conversation, I kept seeing something that I can help with because I was seeing all of these carnivores talking about struggling and struggling to stay on carnivore and being sick of eating just meat. And that's not all the carnivores. There are a lot of people who just love eating meat, who are totally fine, who are not struggling. And that's great, and then this video probably isn't for you, although there will be cool things. But for those of you who are struggling on carnivore, I think I can help. So many years ago, I did carnivore before carnivore was a thing, and I didn't know what I was doing. I did it because I was I was a teenager at the time, and I was so sick of having candida problems that I was like, I'm just not eating carbs, I'm eating meat. I didn't do it correctly. I did it way too low fat. I probably made other mistakes. I really didn't know what I was doing. And I crashed off that really hard, and it threw me into a binge eating disorder. And I know now, through having healed myself of that and worked through it and gotten to know myself really well, that for me, and I think for a lot of people who struggle with this, if mentally you go too strict with things, it makes you feel deprived, and it also leads to this thing where you feel like, oh my God, I can never eat anything but meat again. Therefore, if I fall off the wagon, and I don't like those terms, but if I fall off the wagon and I eat something that's not meat, once I get back on, I'm never going to be able to have something that's not meat again. So I've got to eat this and this and this and this and this and this before I go back on. And you could end up doing that for days, weeks, months, years, and it will mess up whatever your goal is. I think that that's a huge problem with the thinking. For me, carnivore is very doable because I am mentally flexible about it. And let me explain that. So when I first went on carnivore in March 2024, I had the mindset, I'm going to try this for 30 days. I'm going to be really strict for 30 days. After that 30 days, I'll make a decision if I'm sticking with it or not. And after the 30 days, I'm going to have some flexibility. Like at the time, we were living in a town that had an ice cream parlor that had sugar-free ice cream. And I was like, sometime over the summer, I'll probably go there with the kids. I'll probably get a sugar-free milkshake. It's not a problem if you're eating carnivore most of the rest of the time. And let me just say, obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical practitioner. Always consult with your doctor. And there are some people who do need to be on very strict carnivore for medical reasons. And if that's you, then this isn't for you, although some of it is, because I'll talk about some of the strictly carnivore things that I do that help. So for me, it's not this mentally, it's not this all or nothing thing. And that really helps me. I never say to myself, I am not allowed to have XYZ. Now, I have not had sugar, except for like trace amounts and things, in many, 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 many years. Probably about 20 years since I think I had any like real sugary thing. And as somebody who was a binge eater and addicted to carbs and could eat sugary after sugary after sugary thing, I understand that it's hard to get off sugar, and I just want to reassure everybody that once you get off it, you lose your taste for it, especially if you have the experience of trying it and realizing how awful you feel after consuming it, after having been off it for a long time. But let me tell you, like, the other thing that is crucial in regards to that, again, at least for me, is mentally having things that you feel are treats for you, that you allow yourself to have however often works for you within the bounds of staying in your dietary guidelines. So I probably wouldn't do it more than like once a month or whatever it is. So say like for Thanksgiving, I made a keto chocolate cake and I brought it and I had a piece of it and it was very good. And that made me not feel deprived about anything else anybody else was having. And I wasn't in a mental state leading up to that of, oh my gosh, I can't ever have cake again. Let me eat cake because I'm so deprived. Because I know that if I suddenly started having a strong craving for cake, and I did the things like, eating butter, eating whatever your go-to carnivore snack is, and I still had that craving after, days, weeks, whatever it was, and it was like, okay, I just really legitimately want a piece of cake. I have recipes, both carnivore recipes and keto recipes, that I can make a piece of cake and it's really, really good. There's also a keto bakery that I've ordered from before. I don't do that frequently. I did it last year for my birthday. And that makes me feel like I'm not deprived. And I think it's really important. And again, this is so much a mental exercise with yourself. If you have a lot of mental rigidity about your diet and you make it an on the wagon, off the wagon kind of thing, an all or nothing kind of thing, that's a tough mental game to play with yourself. If you feel like I am going to stay mostly carnivore 99.9% of the time, and if I feel like I want to have something a little more for variety, that's okay, because I know that if I do that, it's still going to be within the bounds of what Dr. Berry would call a proper human diet, which is carnivore, keto, ketovore, very low carb. And I have learned how to do that. And, even if I felt like, I want to eat a Quest keto cookie. Now, I would not do that frequently. They're not good for you. They're processed crap. When they say the net carbs, you probably need to count more carbs than they actually say are in that. And for some people, if you can't handle that, that can lead to binging. But if you say to yourself, you know what? Right now, like I did this when we moved several months ago and I was doing most of it on my own and I was running all around and whatever. I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a pack of Quest cookies, and if I need to eat on the run or whatever, like I'm just giving myself permission to do this. And I did. And it was helpful in the running back and forth with no time to cook. It's not something I would do on a regular basis. I also did, the McDonald's drive-through of a no bun burger, which was a lot healthier of an option. But, if I hadn't let myself have those Quest cookies during that time, that was both needing it for convenience or something for convenience, but also, just feeling like I wanted to reward myself in a way with what was going on, then I might have felt deprived and it might have led to something worse. It's really, to me, not a big deal. Once in a blue moon, if that's your worst cheat, big deal. And I don't even like that term. I feel like I have a flexible diet. I am gentle with myself. I am 99.9% carnivore, but if there's a special occasion, like my birthday is next month, I will probably make or buy a keto cake. and that's cool. If there's some kind of thing where you are having a craving and it's going to prevent you from going nutty and just completely discarding your diet, I don't think it's the biggest deal. But I think it's very important to define for yourself what your safe so-called cheats are. For me, I'm not cool with going into like sugary snacks, and that's just because of me and my health history and my biology. And I know that I get sick if I eat sugar, and I would feel horrible, and my heart would race, and I'd have arrhythmias, and it's not a good thing. And I don't see any need for sugar when I literally can make things that taste just as good, whether it's cake, whether it's pudding, whether it's ice cream. And again, I don't think it's a good thing to be eating those things all the time on a regular basis. But whatever it is, I know that I can make stuff that's just as good and that's healthy for me. So, why would I even want to do that to myself? And I think it's such a good thing to get to that point where you found your recipe. And I'd really recommend looking at Maria Emmerich's videos, Chris Cooking Nashville, Courtney Luna's new book. There are a lot of recipes out there. The other thing, and Maria Emmerich gets me into that, is you can make carnivore treats that are not in any way off plan if you're a carnivore. And I've done some really, really delicious things. I've made waffles out of chicken flour. I've discovered that, you don't even have to get that expensive chicken flour. You can just put some chicken and some ground beef and your other ingredients like the eggs and the fat in a blender and mix them up and I like to add some beef gelatin, a little bit of the unflavored equipped beef protein, mix it up, put it in a waffle iron. It's awesome. I have made carnivore biscuits out of similar ingredients that are so good. The duck fat makes things taste so delicious, and you could get it to taste very, very similar to regular biscuits that you would make with flour. I have made carnivore soup dumplings out of a very similar recipe that really tasted like the real thing and were really good and satisfying. And there's like no need to eat the crappy stuff. Some of the like flour dumplings are really tasteless. They're not even good compared to the stuff you can eat on carnivore. So it's like, I can have my biscuits, I can have my waffles, and on top of that, I can have my steak and my eggs and my burgers and my sausages and all the yummy carnivore stuff. Like, when you learn how to master this, we as carnivores have the best of both worlds, because we are burning fat for energy, so we can have all these delicious, savory, fatty, yummy, healthy things. But then we can also have the carnivore treats that are so good. And again, I recommend looking at Maria Emmerich's recipes and her carnivore cookbook. I will try, I don't have the best kitchen setup. I will try at some point to film myself cooking, but it's hard. I will try to have recipes available. Sometimes people reach out to me for my recipes for things, and I really need to put a list of that together. But Chris Cooking Nashville as well, lots of good carnivore stuff. Emma the Carnivore has started posting some great recipes as well. There's a lot out there. So just summing it up, I think a lot of this carnivore struggle, or even ketovore struggle, whatever it is when we have this black and white, on the diet, off the diet kind of thinking. When we're in this, oh, I can't eat that, I'm not allowed to eat that, I can never eat it again, and you're white knuckling. don't do that to yourself mentally. Make your choices of what you're going to eat, knowing that you love yourself, that you love your body, that you want to make wise choices with your food for whatever your why reasons are for you. But also know that if you're a little bit flexible off, whether it's a carnivore treat, whether it's like a once a month keto treat, like I've even heard Dr. Kiltz, who is so hardcore carnivore, say about once a month he will make some French fries in beef tallow. And he makes his Dr. Kiltz ice cream that you can find the recipes for online. I also make an unsweetened ice cream that I just throw the beef gelatin into for texture, add some vanilla. It's good. I mean, all of you guys who like still have your like sweet taste, you might not like it as much, but you can add some kind of sweetener of choice like glycine or allulose or something like that if you do those. Anyway, just don't be so black and white with yourself. And then if you decide to have a treat, even if it's like not a healthy treat, even if it is, oh my gosh, I had sugar, don't get into the mindset of, okay, now I have to eat 50 more things before I go back on the diet. No. Get yourself back into, I made an unhealthy choice. I love myself and now I'm going to make the healthy choices. But you know what? If I've been taking good care of myself, a couple weeks from now, if I want to have a keto treat, if my kids are going to the ice cream parlor and I want a scoop of sugar-free ice cream in a dish, or whatever it is that you feel is good for you, that's not going to take you out of ketosis, that's not going to mess you up, that's okay. And for me, that lack of rigidity, even if I don't take myself up on it, except for once in a while, is so crucial. And I don't feel like I'm white knuckling it. And I don't feel like, oh my God, I've got to stay on plan. Oh my God, what if I cheat today? I just don't. And I adapt to the situation. A few days ago, I'll just add in, and I am going to finish soon, I promise. So I was sick to my stomach a few days ago, and I took some coconut flour and I mixed it up with some cooked chicken and some cooked beef and some chicken broth. And it was like a sort of pancake, and I was able to tolerate that. So, I wouldn't normally eat coconut flour. Having a little bit of coconut flour one day did not hurt me in any way. And the critical thing was I wasn't like, oh gosh, I'm sick, I've got to have chicken noodle soup or a bunch of saltines or something like that. So if I hadn't been flexible enough to say to myself, let's whip up something with the coconut flour that we can stomach, that might have been a problem for me. So we all have our mental tricks we can do with ourselves, and we all have our diet hacks too. And if you explore yours and you explore what works for you, I think you'll really be less tempted to cheat with the bad things, or to go off into a binge, or to get off your way of eating for a long period of time. And I just don't think the struggle is there as much if you shift your thinking. I hope this helps.